You want to know why you always fail? It's because your word means literally nothing to yourself. This is what happens when you can't keep the promises you make for yourself. And every time you try to make a change in your life or set a goal for yourself, it always falls through. Why is that? It starts with even the littlest things. If you say, I'm going to go on a run tomorrow, and then you wake up in the morning and then your legs are sore because you hit legs the other day, but you said yesterday that you're going to go for a run, and you just make the excuse, this goes back to my last video, and you make an excuse that, oh, I hit legs yesterday. You try to rationalize that idea in your head. You're like, oh, my legs are sore. I hit legs yesterday. I don't have to go on this run. It's all right. I can skip out on this because of all these different excuses and different reasons that we give ourselves to basically cope. When you do this for an extended period of time and multiple repeated times, over and over again, you keep feeding yourself these lies, telling yourself that you're going to do something when in reality you know that you won't follow through. That is how you set yourself up for failure in every single task that you set out for yourself. Sure, you might have no problem doing things for anybody else. Like if your boss calls you in, he sets your schedule, you have to come in from 9 to 5 every day, every weekday, you're going to be there because it's an obligation to somebody else. And then they dictate your pay and you don't want to lose that, so you're going to have to go in. But when it comes to doing things for yourself, you're going to fail every single time if you make these promises that you can't fulfill. If you say, every day when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to make my bed, and then you roll out of bed, you just leave it a mess. These small things have trickle-down effects into the entirety of our lives. So even though it may seem like a small decision that you're like, oh, I didn't make my bed this morning, it's fine, it doesn't really mean anything, that is where you go wrong, because the simple act of not keeping your promise and not following through on the things you say you will do. Why even set the goal in the first place, honestly? If you know for a fact that you're not going to complete it, why set it in the first place? I think it's just crazy how people expect so much out of themselves when they, for one, either know they're not going to do what they say they want to do, and number two, they don't even feel like it half the time. They just want these like comforting facts and comforting ideas like, oh yeah, it would be nice to say that I'm going to go on a run tomorrow, right? But when the time comes, they don't actually go for the run. Or saying things like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to hit the gym 5 times a week, knowing damn well they're not going to do shit and they're just going to sit on their ass all day instead of going to the gym after work, even though it's hard. Like, yeah, everything that is worth doing is going to be hard. You think Steve Jobs started up Apple or Bill Gates started up Microsoft doing things that were easy, like sitting on his ass? You think, oh, yeah, I'm just gonna sit on, if it was in today's modern age, like say if you were trying to start up their business, you think they were saying, oh, I'm just gonna sit on social media all day, and even though I got home from work, yeah, my 8 hours of work during the day was more than enough. I don't need to do anything on the side or afterwards that I'm passionate about. I deserve a break. That is not how that shit works. They set a plan and executed that plan regardless of however they felt at that time and whatever 8 hours of work they did previous. They still have like 4 hours in their night that they could use before going to sleep, before the next day repeats, and then they have to go back into work again, that they could be using towards their goals. So say their goal was to start up their company of Apple or Microsoft and they worked a 9 to 5 job. They would take that time because they made the promise to themselves that they would work on their business after even getting through a long day of grueling work at the office or whatever. It's really just the simple things, like saying you're going to clean your room or something and then you don't, or saying you're going to go for a run the next day and then you don't. These small little broken promises to yourself is really detrimental to making change in your own life rather than like fulfilling obligations for somebody else, because that's a lot easier. You have somebody else on your back. But then when it comes to doing things on your own accord, that is where it gets tough, especially if we're so conditioned previously to fall through on our promises and we in the past have not been able to prove to ourselves that we're able and capable of fulfilling our promises that we make to ourselves. And so that's the reason that you always fail. It's because you're unable to keep these promises to yourself, and in the end, your word literally means nothing to your own self, which is really sad. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.